Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to an actual reasonable houred episode of the Missing Wolves post-game live stream podcast thing. It is not 2 a.m. like it was on Christmas day after Christmas yesterday, because that's how time works. I'm your host, Andrew Dukowitz from Zone Coverage. Today, we got a couple guests, friends, Phil and Matt from the Minnesota Please Understand podcast. How are you guys doing, man?
Doing good, man. Happy to be back on. And don't worry, nobody knows what day it is right now. We are in the void until, I don't even know, after New Year's or I don't know either.
It was literally like we finished. I had Sarah Bitternich on after the game and we finished recording and it was like 2 a.m. I was like, what is happening? Which, like, to all the people that tuned in and listened to that, like, I appreciate it. I think we hit like 700 views on YouTube, which was like by far a career best. So people that tuned into that one, whether it was Nuggets fans trolling or Wolves fans, we appreciate all of you. And you guys are going live now from what I understand, Wednesdays, right?
Well, I wouldn't put us down on for Wednesdays. It's kind of when are the Wolves not playing early in the week, so we can try to get to the Vikes stuff as quick as possible, and then not have a Wolves game competing with that. But yeah, you know what? It might even sometimes be Thursday. But yeah, we try to do early in the week about what does it feel like 6 or 6:30 typically, and we'll try to like tweet out when we're gonna do it. And even then, you know. I wouldn't set your watch to it, but
you're talking to a man that does a post-game live stream an hour after the game ends. So I'm not going to knock anyone on timeliness.
Yeah, it varies, but also like maybe we can get a little more of a consistent schedule coming up because Vikings are about done. So it's crazy. The year just flies by.
Which, who knew the Vikings might actually be fine if they don't throw the ball 55 times a game?
Yeah, who could have saw that coming? We all saw 9-8 this whole season, right?
I think that's what everyone predicted. So it's weird that that's where they're finishing after all of this.
Yeah, as we all buckle up for a Max Brosmer Clayton Tune showdown in Week 18. Nobody will ever tell you the season's too long.
On Clayton Tune references, let's get into some Wolves games. Wolves drop tonight against Brooklyn in maybe the most Wolves loss ever. I mean, it does just seem like this team, doesn't take maybe the win-loss records of other teams seriously. I mean, I'll just be honest, like post-game locker room, post-game Finch both talked about it. Ant talked about it. Rudy talked about it. Dante talked about it, that this is something that like has become a trend with them and they have to figure out. I guess I'll just ask you guys, like, what do you feel like the issue is with these guys that this has been? I mean, this was an issue last year too. And yes, they're doing better against bad teams this year, but it's normally because they score like 15 points in the fourth quarter and the game's over. I mean, why is it just continuing to be this way for the Wolves?
Phil, I'll let you jump in on that one first.
It's interesting because, if you're looking at the box score tonight, it doesn't really tell you the whole story, but the third quarter, 36-23, Brooklyn outscored us. And that's usually been the quarter where that's been kind of a good quarter for us this year. But I don't know, man. It was weird because it was, the same kind of game that we, tend to expect against a team like the Nets. And they're kind of hanging around. No big deal. Like, we're like, okay, we'll probably pull away in the third quarter, second half, whatever. And that third quarter was, that was just classic, just awful. I couldn't even kind of describe it. Hags and I were talking about or texting about it, and it just seemed like there was no energy, no gas. And Cam Thomas, man, that guy, he was filling it up for a guy who hasn't played in 2 months. He sure seemed like he was doing okay. 30 points.
Yeah, it was the third quarter especially was so weird because they give up 46 points in the first half in the paint. And then they honestly didn't do too bad at points in the paint in the third quarter, but then everything else was going. So it's almost like they just went it almost looked like they went from like one extreme where they're letting a layup line go through at Rudy and then to the other extreme where they're so hyper focused on not letting people get to the paint that it's just 3 after 3, and just, I shouldn't say 3 after 3. They shot 11 for 40 from 3, but like just a lot of easy baskets. I mean, Matt, what was your kind of thought on what got away from them in the third?
I mean, I don't even know if it was necessarily the third. I felt like we were lucky to even be leading at half. So like it was more to me just a continuation. And we really did shoot the ball pretty well in that first half to be lucky to be ahead in the game. And as I look at like just their field goal percentage, like they ended at 54.8, which is down from what they were at about 59, holding steady for a majority of that game. So it just seemed like nobody really wanted to play tonight. And it felt that way. And it's like, if the shots are falling, great, maybe we'll, find 7 to 8 minutes here in the fourth and try to scrap and claw one out here. And they just didn't have the competitiveness that Brooklyn had. And this has been the trend. Like that's the question where it's like, why is this? And it's not just this year. And Alan Horton actually said it on the broadcast up until tonight. 15-2 against below 500 teams, which I guess I wouldn't have guessed. I know we did get out to that hot start early, but it was
a lot of
the other
fourth
night.
Quarter comebacks, though. Like I think they also lead the league in being down by 10 at halftime or being down by 10 at some point and winning. Yep. But continue, Matt.
Well, yeah, it's just like, why are we continuing to just punt the first half almost every night unless it's against one of the better teams in the league? And that to me is like, we were talking before we came on. It's like, this is just like the most Wolves loss ever, right? With this group, we've seen it over and over again, losing to lesser teams. But it's like, why does this continue to be the case? And for me, I'm kind of just past the point of getting wound up over these games because I look at the Denver games, I look at the OKC. That to me is the measuring stick. I've kind of given up hope on like trying to get a 1 or a 2 seed, because these guys clearly don't really value an 82 game regular season. And maybe OKC just makes that pointless for everybody, but they kind of just like to dial it up when they have to. And they've lived off a bad diet of that for a long time, getting down and coming back. And it's like, that shit catches up to you after a while. So I don't know how they fix it, but we see the same thing. I think everybody.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that's so frustrating. And we do have some chat that I want to get to here, but like post game Finch talks and we ask him about it. And I remember last year at one point, he said it's like Groundhog's Day, like every single game when we're playing against a bad team, like it just seems like it's the same script. Go down by a lot, then have to exert all your energy coming back and lose it at the end. Like this game, they're winning them at the end, but also like, man, it just is this trend that they can't kick. And I asked Finch, like, are the players seem self-aware about it, like they talk about it, and Finch had a really good point on it of like they're talking about it, so like acknowledging the problem is the first step, but like they're not self-aware because they're not fixing it. Like I think it was can't remember who asked it, but another reporter asked, like, did you guys think that this Brooklyn team, did they surprise you? And Finch is like, no, we have a scouting department. Like everyone gets binders. Like, it's not like these guys don't have the information. It's like, Finch called out their energy tonight. Ant obviously called out their energy. He said he would have booed them too. And this is Timberwolves basketball, and seemed like he was very frustrated. Rudy kind of fell on the sword saying that like, this loss is on him, that he didn't start the right way, that he didn't have energy tonight and he needs to be better. Dante had a very similar kind of response of like, we got to look in the mirror and like figure out what's going on. But I mean, Phil, what do you think it is? Like, how would you fix it? Because a couple people in chat, Jake and Cole, have asked, if it's a Finch problem.
Yeah. I mean, if you listen to our podcast, we like to go back and forth on Finch quite a bit. I don't know how you fix it. Like, because we can, bang the maturity drum as much as we want, but at some point it's like, well, you just got to grow up. You got to win these games. I look at you. You mentioned that we have a scouting department, right? They mentioned on the broadcast that Brooklyn's the number 1 defense in the NBA in December by like a long shot. Now they still have won 9 games. Like, you're still an elite team, or you should be an elite team. I don't care if Brooklyn's the number 1 defense in December. Like, you have to take advantage of these games. And when you come down to the end of the season, I know like the top 6 are kind of separating themselves a little bit right now as far as, the play-in goes and whatever, because all we care about is the top 6. I mean, let's be real. But you're in that position for a reason at the end of the year. It's because of games like this. So yeah, just a lackadaisical effort tonight. It was not a fun game to watch at all.
Yeah, and again, like it's so interesting because some of these guys have been on really good teams. Like Rudy has been on Utah teams that were the 1 seed. He's been on Utah teams that have won a ton of games. Dante's won a ring with Milwaukee. He's played with Steph, and then he was on a 2 or a 4 seed Knicks team. I can't remember which one it was because, brain farts. But like, it's not like the veterans on this team haven't done this before. And I asked Rudy about it, and he actually made a really good point of like, this team is the most talented team he's played on, but like talent isn't always good. Like sometimes you need the guys that are less talented that just instill that culture of doing all the little things. Like Rudy said, like, having guys that run all the way to the corner on breaks every time, that sprint back immediately after a made layup, so you're not giving one up on the other end. And like, honestly, that kind of feels like the case with this team, which Cole brings up Nikhil, who left over the offseason. Like, this does seem like it would be a Nikhil game where, he would have just been that guy in the second quarter or in the first quarter when he got his minutes and maybe sparked something back in. I think, TJ's out injured, but he's been largely a negative. Jalen hasn't been great. Rob was fine, but like Matt, do you think they just need like a little bit less talent and a little bit more gritty guys?
Yeah, like just the guys that get everything, like they're in the league because they hustle. Something like that I feel like could go a long way. But, and I was going to ask you about like our flexibility for in the buyout market at some point. And that's a great point on Nikhil. Like that's what he did, at least compared to everybody else. I knew he was going to play his ass off every night. The shots may not fall all the time, but like I knew he was going to bring all the energy. And the roster just kind of, it is talented, but we don't really we got a lot of laid back kind of guys for the most part. And if you start talking trash to them, then it's almost like, yes, we want that. And it kind of takes something like that to light a fire. And that fire just isn't there on its own a lot of the time. So you asked him who's to blame. And to me, it's 2 people, the head coach and your best player. Like those are the tone setters. And it's just, if you're not going to fire your best player, right? And I know I'm not saying we're getting rid of Finch, but like I feel like he needs to step up and be like, these guys are like never ready to play. Even in the Denver game, I was like, they kind of feels pretty flat here to start out, like a friendly handshake to start this game. It's like, maybe they're just playing, maybe it's a marathon versus sprint approach. But when we have these losses like this time and time again, it's like, you're just setting yourself back over and over again. And you got to go to Denver in the playoffs, or you got to go to Houston instead of hosting them for a game 7. Like that's the long game that I feel like these guys don't really think about or don't care about. And eventually that adds up and it'll come back to bite you. So yeah,
it is kind of tough. Wild because like, you're right. Jake mentions, who is the third to your Please Understand podcast. Go follow Jake Ulrich. They always say they don't come out with energy after on every loss, but never fix it. I do think part of the issue this year has been like they win these games. So like, how much can you really dig into these guys when they come out and win it? So like, glass half full type of guy. I'm not a big moral victory type of person, so I'm not going to say it's like a moral victory, but like Finch was in that locker room a long time before he came and talked to us today. I think these are the games where you can say like all the bullshitting you guys do, like this is what happens. Like this is going to happen. And when you lose to the Nets at the end of December, like we could be the 7 seed going and have to play an extra play-in game. So like I do think there's an opportunity for it to like maybe spark something, but also like how many times have we said, you know, there's going to be a you know, spark with this team, whether it's Finch getting tossed in Oklahoma City or whether it's, you know, Julius having a triple double earlier in the year. And it just never kind of seems to, which again, it goes back to Ant's point of, you know, this is Minnesota Timberwolves basketball. And he was perplexed when he said it, but like, Phil, it kind of seems like he's right at this moment.
He's right, but it's a lazy response from your leader, you know. And hey, we all love Ant, but like that's part of the maturity thing that I'm talking about. Like, we've heard the same answer over and over again over the past few years. And look, they're a good team. They've gone to the Western Conference Finals twice. They have every piece to make a good, you know, deep run this year as well. But when you hear that answer after a game like this, you know, for the last 3 years, you're like, okay, well, you know, I know there's only so many answers to give to the media, but like, what are you thinking? It's the same thing over and over and over again. And at some point you have to fix it. And so like, yeah, like you mentioned before, like, where does that come from? I don't know. I don't know if that's a major shakeup or a major change, but then, you know, also they have like the best record since Thanksgiving in the NBA. So it's a two-way street. It's like, I don't know what the answer is here.
Yeah, I don't like that
that's
answer.
Certainly.
Right?
I was just going to say that's certainly the other side of the coin. I mean, Denver lost Denver lost tonight after beating Minnesota on Christmas. The Spurs lost to Utah after beating Oklahoma City back to back. Like, there are just weird. I think every team in the league deals with this. It's just the Wolves. It's been so consistently annoying that it sticks out significantly more. Am I off base with that, Matt?
No, I think you're dead on. And it's because it's the same thing all the time. And it's like, well, and everyone's like, well, it's just Timberwolves basketball. Like, we're just it's nothing we can do. Like, no, guys, I don't like that kind of an answer, really. But like you said, maybe it's just, what else am I going to say to the media? You know, I'm pissed off. What do you want me to say? But
I mean, that's what I want Ant to say. That clip will do very well. So, Anthony Edwards, thank you. Thank you for the back and forth. It was very charming. And he understands the media game. But I do agree with you. Like, as a fan, that's probably not what you want to hear your best player play after. I mean, quite frankly, like, Ant didn't have a very good game either. I mean, 10 of 22, minus 14, 3 turnovers. Like, it does kind of stop on him too. I do want to touch on the trade and buyout market that you brought up, because I do think that's an interesting thing we can finally start to actually talk about. But wanted to get to some chat here first. Godfrey, it's Finch's fault. Cam Thomas scores 30 points. Lol. I mean, that's the frustrating part about this, is like, these guys have a scout. They know Cam Thomas's tendencies. They know he's going to be his first game back from an injury. And it's like Ant's guarding him. Like, there's no way Cam Thomas, first game back from an injury, should drop 30 points in 20 minutes. But like, he does. So that's where like the Finch stuff gets hard with me, because it's like, it's not like he's not putting these guys in position. It's just they don't do it. Ren adds Nets bench scores 62. Nets bench also was a plus 30, 40, 41, 45, a plus 52 combined tonight, which is fathomable. It's not good. Godfrey then adds, you know, millions of dollars to play basketball. Isn't that enough to motivate? I think what's like hard, because I see that a lot, especially on stuff that I post of like guys and more of the like holistic side of their lives. Like yes, you'd think that's enough to like motivate you, right? Like me sitting here working a day job and doing media, like I look at millions of dollars and it's like, man, if only I could get that, right? But like, this is like kind of their lifestyle. Like they're just collecting that paycheck. It's not like it after you get your first max contract. It's not like your lifestyle waxes and wanes with your effort level. And I think when you're like 25, there's just days you're not motivated. Like Lord knows the place I was working when I was 25 had some stinker day shifts from Andrew. But
you didn't have to face the media afterwards.
Yeah, that's tough.
Like, so I do think it's just like, yes, that should be enough. But I think just like human nature is complacency. And when you're making that much money, I don't think it's like in your head every day of like, oh, the money should be enough for me to do it. It's just that check's going to get cashed regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess to go along with that, you don't know like what's going on in their personal lives. I mean, I know like you Andrew, like to shed a little bit on that, which I think we all appreciate watching those extra videos you post and stuff like that. But you don't know, like any one of these guys could have just, everybody's sick this time of year. Anybody with kids knows like you are sick this time of year. So, going to family events and Christmas and all that. You never know. Like somebody could have just not. They could have been sick and not eaten all day. And now you got to go out and play an NBA game against some very talented human beings, So yeah, again, you just kind of never know what's going on in personal lives.
It's like such a delicate balance. Cause I do think there is, that side of it where like Jaden and Mike last year were very open about like, yeah, it kind of sucks when you want to be a good dad. Like you come home from a long road trip and you want to spend as much time with your kids and you want to give your significant other a break, but then you're up until 2 a.m. with a crying infant and you have to like wake up for shoot around at 8 and do your like routine. And like, it's required basically that they get naps now. And it's like, that sounds stressful. I mean, like first world problem, stressful, but still like stressful. But I do want to run a couple ad reads. And then when we come back, we'll chat more about maybe trades. I also saw Cole wanted to know why we didn't talk to Randall. So we'll answer that when we come back. Well, hello. Thank you, live stream Andrew. This is Ad Read Andrew. And today we have Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, the presenting sponsor for the Missing Links podcast. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling strives to inspire people to follow their ideas, working with respect and understanding to create a quality, tailored result. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, located in Blaine and serving in the North Metro area, is here to help you with your building and remodeling needs. I can say personally, thanks to Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, I have a beautiful deck in my backyard and countless projects that I started, they finished. Get started on your new deck or remodel today by calling Isaac at 763-710-5686. And we're back with another ad read, this time for Pence Homes, the presenting sponsor of Hitting the Hardwood Network. From the best tools and technology to transparency throughout the entire process, Nate Pence and the Pence Homes team is the top choice for buyers, sellers, and is proud to support you and your home ownership goals. Get started today by calling 612-308-1122 or by emailing info@pencehomes.com. So first, I just want to like pull back the curtain a little bit because Cole asked like, why don't we get to talk to Randall or everyone after games? And like after games, we get to talk to the coach, and then the John Krasinski, Jace Frederick, Chris Hines of the world get to pick 3 players that we're going to talk to. And usually, like after a loss, you want to talk to players that are going to be more like insightful on like what happened. Like obviously you want to talk to Ant because he's like the star player, the star of the show. After a loss, every single time we're going to ask for Ant, right? But then you kind of want players that are going to be able to like break down what happened and be kind of insightful on it. And Dante's really good at that. Mike's really good at that. Jaden's really good at that. Rudy's excellent at that. And none of them like BS around it. They're pretty just honest of like, hey, this is what happened. This is what we got to get better at. I think Julius is like after a game, he almost needs to like watch the film before he can really kind of comment on it, kind of similar to Ant. So short answer is the powers to be didn't want to talk to Julius. Long answer is like Julius just isn't really a great like insightful quote after a annoying loss. Whereas like Rudy being able to say like, the whole we need more effort players than talents type of arguments of it is like a really insightful way to look at this type of thing of like they might need a Royce O'Neal instead of Rob Dillingham, right? Like I think anyone that watches basketball knows Rob Dillingham probably has a higher ceiling and is more talented, but like a Royce O'Neal has been in the league for 12 years because he just does the little gritty things. Dante kind of similar. When we asked him about it, he was talking about just like, it needs to start from the top with your stars, and it needs to be like consistent effort and energy in practices every single day. And then that carries over into the game, which it's like, I don't know if Julius is saying that after a tough loss. It's usually more of like, yeah, I'll need to look at the film. Yeah, I need to do this. Yeah, that's a good point, which doesn't really like help people write articles. So pulling back the curtain a little bit, it's more complicated than just like, yeah, Julius kind of had a stinker. Let's talk to him, because like the writers that cover this team have to do game reports and need quotes that like actually inspire things to write about. So anyways, back on track though. Phil, I did want to ask you, like, buyout market and trade market is coming up. I'll be completely honest. Like, I don't think Finch is going anywhere. Like the team still is behind him. He still like has really good rapport with his staff. Like this year, Finch is not going anywhere. Like, what do you feel like the biggest need is for this team? Because I feel like when we talked earlier, it was pretty clear that it was a point guard, but now it's like, Ren mentions in chat, Nas is getting hunted pretty regularly on defense. They don't really have a backup or a starting point guard. And also TJ and Jalen have been meh at best. What do you kind of feel like the most urgent thing is, though?
Yeah, I was going to mention Jalen Clark. Is this the first 15-minute game with a loss tonight? I think he played exactly 15 minutes. So
he played 14 minutes and 47 seconds.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
Nice.
They round up on the aggregated box scores. So
all right, we're all right then.
15 or more.
We're all right then.
Moral victory.
Yeah. To me, I know you mentioned a guy. Who'd you mention? Royce O'Neal. Like not him specifically, but I know you mentioned him before. And it's guys like that. It's depth on your bench. Another ball handler. I don't necessarily think it's a point guard. But it's nice to have another guy who can just handle the ball. But that being said, it's like, well, what do you give up if it's buyout market? I don't know really what's going to be out there that's going to be that significant to your roster. But I know with TJ out now, it's really a revolving door of I know we always joke on our pod, like who's going to be the first sub in tonight? Like Finch just flips a coin and it's TJ or it's Clark or it's Rob or whoever else. Like they don't really have that Nikhil lever, if you will, to pull.
Yeah.
Man, it's really sad to talk about Nikhil, but
we're playing him in a couple.
I know that's
a couple games here. So
yeah,
bet the over.
New Year's Eve. Yeah, bet the over. Yeah, I mean like a ball handler, like another rebounder, but yeah, like I said, if you're not making a trade, what in the buyout market is really going to help you, that significantly?
To piggyback on that, the Wolves are also a first apron team, so they can only buy buyouts that make, I believe, under $12 million this year, the year they're bought out. So it's like, if you're looking at like Ja Morant gets bought out, like the Wolves can't sign him. It's going to be a pretty average bench player. But Matt, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this the other day. Like, looking at it through like the Homer lens, I'm thinking like, man, we've got an underachieving bench. And it's like, no, we have a bad bench. You need to come to terms with that.
It's bad. Like
it is.
Even
it's Nas, and that's basically all you can ever count on.
And even
if he
the
doesn't
Nas,
play great.
I was gonna say, even the Nas stuff, like it hasn't been good for large portions of the season now, but continue.
Yeah, he started slow. I think he's come on, and then, but there's some nights where you're like, man, I don't know if I can recall seeing people miss like this many wide open shots. So, I mean, sometimes that can just be a live and die by the three type of issue. But, talking, what do we need to, fix with the bench? Like, it's a lot. We're one Rudy injury away from having no centers. And like those Randall Reed minutes have been an issue. So can you find a backup center that can play 8 to 12 minutes and protect the rim and rebound, and maybe like you can try some different lineup combinations to make those Reed Randall minutes a little easier to, handle out there. But, at the same time, you paid Nas all this money, and I understand the three big, situation where it's like we're trying to get a bunch of guys here into the 30-minute range, which makes sense. But what else are you going to do? We're lucky Bones Highland has come and shown us some life, but then it's like we've had these like second quarter tryouts every game of like Rob, Jalen, TJ. Who's gonna earn a few minutes in the second half? And like a lot of nights, it's no one. And it's like, who are we going to throw in there? So I know the buyout market may not look great, but it's like I'm looking for a professional to come off this bench. While we thought these guys would be ready to step into a bigger role, especially Shannon. I think everybody, like from the Wolves standpoint, we've seen the summer league and what he did in that OKC series, and it just hasn't worked out. There's been some injuries, but like between those three, you really can't count on any of them on any given night. And then the Conley piece, I was to the point where I'm like, you know what? We need to sit him in the games against better teams, because he just can't contribute in those tougher matchups. The games tonight is where I want him, because he's a pro. I know he'll at least play hard. And I felt like we did miss him a little bit tonight against these like worse opponents. I feel like he can make a bigger contribution. So do you just go shopping in the buyout market? Like the answer is like, it's not looking great.
Can I piggyback on that too, real quick?
Oh, so,
you mentioned Bones Highland, and like that's actually the guy that I would like to see get more minutes. He only had 14 minutes tonight, and I don't know if that was like, hey, we got to try to play Rob a few, but to me,
it was a tough defensive game for Bones.
It was like
he was kind of wild tonight, but continue.
But to me, it's Bones 14 minutes, DiVincenzo 32, and Dante, like, man, hit or miss with him. If he's off, it was nice to see him hit a couple shots early tonight, but he really didn't do too much after that. He was getting cooked on Cam Thomas too. I mean, everybody was, but Dante on Cam Thomas that was a no-win matchup. So, I mean, how much worse is Bones going to do? I would like to see him play a little more minutes. At least he brings you energy. He's trying to get, especially home games, trying to get the crowd into it, trying to get his teammates into it. That's the type of player that I would like to see play a little bit more. And maybe that comes at the expense of a few minutes from Dante.
Certainly. I mean, I just want a couple things. Like Mini Sports Fan brings up, if the front office can't, lost them. If the front office can't, fire Finch or make those moves, it's just kind of a shuffling of the deck chairs on the Titanic for this team. Like, honestly, I that might be just what this year is. I think after this year, the now I'm going to be testing my memory. The 2033 first round pick and 2032 first round pick, you can do a swap on 32 and trade the 33. You can also trade this year's pick the second you draft them. Like this offseason, they're going to have 3 first round picks to trade. Rudy has 1+1 left on his deal. Randall has 1+1 on his deal. Dante has 1 year left on his deal. Like this offseason is where a move will happen, whether it's if they decide a coaching change, whether they decide it's a big roster change. But like mid-season, it doesn't make sense to like overpay for somebody mid-season when you could just like add a pick way out into the future to maybe keep a Jalen Clark or something like that. People are bringing up Cam Thomas, if he would be a better fit on this team. Let's be honest. Cam Thomas was an unrestricted free agent or a restricted free agent, and they put like the minimum restriction on him, and nobody in the league wanted to offer him even a mid-level type of contract. So I think when no one in the league wants to pay you, it's usually a sign that there's something going on there. I do want to ask you guys about Johan, though, because I've seen a few chats about Johan of just like why he isn't playing. I'll be honest, like talking to the team, it sounds like he is exceptionally raw, that he's still trying to figure out like the lingo of the NBA. He jumps at everything on defense. So they're worried that, you know, he plays 7 minutes and he gets 5 fouls and that's like his night. That's kind of a confidence killer. But like, do you guys feel like playing a Johan would have any benefits at this point?
I don't. If you've seen him play at all, like he's years
Been
away
tough in
still.
Iowa.
Yeah, Rocco's further ahead of him today, I think, than Johan, and that's, I mean, not saying a lot, but I feel like, yeah, I don't know what he would do. I mean, maybe I'd be wrong, just throwing him in there for 5 to 8 minutes or something like that. Not sure what that does. I think another question would just be like, you know, why were we drafting like assets years down the road in a season like this where we don't have a lot of flexibility? We kind of needed a contributor, and yeah, you can make moves in the off season, but it's like, man, the Spurs aren't getting any worse. OKC isn't getting any worse, right? Like it's going to be tougher and tougher to feel like you can be at the top of the West. So the Dillingham thing, I think, is another thing that's really coming back to hurt us, like trading up for a swing and a miss on him. And we're really getting nothing out of that. Like, and really all the young guys, like we're waiting for somebody to come and save us, and we just haven't found anybody yet. But Phil, what do you think about Baron J? I mean, it's looked pretty choppy when we have seen him, unless it's on the receiving end of a Joe Ingles lob. That's pretty much where we've got our kicks so far.
Yeah, I mean, point blank period, he's just green. He's just not ready. Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing else to be said, I don't think.
Yeah, some people are bringing up Rocco. I'll be honest, like Rocco prior to last season was being projected as a top 5 pick. And then he played 12 minutes a game for Australia and everyone forgot he existed. And Tim swung high on him with the second rounder. So like at one point, people were very excited about Rocco. I do think he has a really good game. Like he is a pretty pure shooter. He's pretty good footwork, but like he is just like when you see him in person, he's probably closer to like a 7'5" type of frame, and he weighs like 200 pounds. Like that guy is like in danger of a strong gust of wind breaking him in half. I mean, again, if you want to try it, like why not? But I just think until he puts some weight on, it's going to be tough to watch him in the NBA, where, you know, the G League, you're playing against other people that are probably closer to Rocco's size. A couple of people have brought up in the chat here that just like the bench, it's not that the bench players are like bad, they're just not being like utilized correctly. I'd love to get your thoughts on that though, because like I'll be honest, like TJ is, I mean, he's on a scouting report now. Teams know he can't shoot with his right hand. Teams know that he plays off too far on defense. Teams know that he doesn't do well when people are like cutting from the wing to the corner. Like they just know how to beat him now, which now it's kind of on TJ of like, how do you get better at that? Rob, similarly, like they know he plays really aggressive on offense and they know that his indecision and turnovers are an issue. So like crowd the gaps, give him half open reads and hope that he makes a bad pass. Clark, you know, I think on a night like tonight, 1 for 4, 6 points, gets to the free throw line a couple times. It looks good, but there's other nights where he gets 3 fouls in 4 minutes and it's just his night's over. But what do you guys kind of think on the bench just isn't being used correctly take?
I think it's kind of a lazy take. I mean, these guys, like, they're young for a reason. They are what they are. I mean, I keep seeing might not be brought up in the chat a little bit here, and I'm like, you know, how many times when he was here, was he getting beat on a back door? You know, that one sticks out from last year. It was like 6 seconds into his stint and he was back out. Yeah, you know, there's progression with these guys, but you know, like for Minot, he was here for what, 4 years? Like at some point you have to cut the cord. You know, TJ
and Minot has talked about it in Boston, that like getting cut from Minnesota kind of opened his eyes to, you know, he needs to do some things better, but keep going.
The other one to me, Rob, I noticed tonight, like he made a good move and got to the lane, and he does this from time to time where he just blows a layup. And
Yeah.
I don't know. It reminds me of like NBA Jam when you're in the air for a dunk and then you press the shoot button again to kind of make a cool layup. I'm like, what is he doing? I'm not sure why he doesn't just take the normal shot. He's trying to make it look fancy or something. I don't know, but he's maybe on the way out. I don't know. I just don't know that they have the patience for it. Hags, I don't know if you have anything else on him or anybody else.
Yeah, like as far as them being utilized incorrectly, I mean, what I guess I would probably just agree with on that is like it seems like all these guys just have such a quick hook. Like no one's allowed to really play through any mistakes. And it hasn't helped that they all just shoot the ball poorly, it seems like, when they get in the game, even for wide open jumpers. Clark, we've seen a little bit. I mean, Shannon's had some good moments, but for the most part, like, do you think it's going in when any of those guys shoot? Like, because I really don't. And then, you know, one turnover here or there, and you're coming out, and it's turning into like a, you know, heavy 30s minutes for Dante, and you know he's gonna just, or he'll just be like, "Hey, Mike, get in there." And now we're back to playing Mike Conley again, and these guys really don't get a chance to play through their mistakes. And you know, we always do seem to have like a pretty healthy roster, right? So it's like we don't have those nights where it's like, hey, we're forced to play a couple of these dudes and go out there and just play ball, kind of what they did with McCarthy. Not to twist the knife on that, but so yeah, it's like it's a hard like it's a fine line to walk, I guess. It's like, well, if you're not giving me a reason to play you, you know, what am I supposed to do at the same time? Especially when it's like, you know, we're trying to win now, of course, but everyone's blaming Finch.
They might not be wrong. I mean, the fact,
I was going to say Finch is getting some heat.
Yeah, that usually happens after a game like this. But one of the guys I liked his quote on here about Missoula, and you know, like he's Missoula's a better coach than Finch. Like that's pretty obvious.
I do think that's partially the case. I mean, I'll be honest, like Rudy's point post game about sometimes talent being a detriment of, like, if you have a team that is too talented and not, you know, doesn't have enough of those scrappers that are just like your Jose Alvarado who takes a swing at Williams today in the Pelicans game. Like when you don't have those guys and your guys at the top, like I don't think anyone's saying Jaylen Brown isn't like locked in at every game, but like Jaylen Brown's 28, Ant's 24, you know, maybe 28-year-old Ant will be more locked in like that. Those are things that like no one really knows the answer to. We will find out the answer because that's sports, right? But like it is really, you know, I don't think it's as much on Finch. I do think there is something to having just too many really talented guys that are, you know, kind of feel like they can just come back in any game when they turn it on. And unfortunately, they can't do that every night. Vikings adds again that Na was the talented and scrapper, big miss. Like, I don't know if Na would have been what he's doing now in Atlanta for the Wolves, but like it does seem like he is someone that is a big miss letting go. CT adds that our roster is better than the Celtics, yet Missoula. Exactly. Like that's exactly the point of, is like, that's almost the exact point that Rudy made of like, we have way too much talent on this roster to be losing these games, but we don't have enough of those dudes that just do the little things. And even on our bench, you look at it and like, I don't think Rob is by nature a do the little things type of guy. TJ doesn't appear to be it yet. Jaylen does the little things on defense and on offense, but it might just be, you know, kind of what you were saying, Hags, of like quick hook. He's not getting enough run. It's a really weird place for this team to be in because they're kind of stuck, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the scary part too. I mean, we've been able to find our way to the Western Conference Finals in the last 2 years, kind of with the same approach and culture, right? This has kind of felt like this has been going on for the last couple seasons. And I guess, you know, they do seem like every one of these losses, we're in the comments, we're all just saying the same stuff. Sky is falling. These guys don't seem to care at all. They'll come out like it's the same old situation. They'll go maybe win a few more games, but then the same thing will happen in 3 weeks and you reset and you're back to square one. And it's like, it's hard to think that you're going to somehow get further than the Western Conference Finals by having this be, like the backdrop or the culture of the team. And like you said about talent, like, are they just looking around for Ant to save him? Because he's done that quite a few times against a lot of these bad teams. And
or Jaden or Julius or any of these guys.
Our talent will just prevail, and we don't have to be diving for loose balls or something like that. And I thought Ant might take this game over at a certain point in that third quarter, and it was just like not even he wasn't hitting it either, and it all just went to shit pretty quick.
I mean, the last thing I just wanted to get you guys kind of thoughts on is just, the Nas read of it all, where it does seem like Nas is kind of the hub of the offense when he checks in, and it just hasn't been good. I mean, like, people brought up in the chat of like Dante needs to go back to the bench to give the bench some juice. Like, you can't run it through Nas. Like, do you feel like there's an answer on this team to the issue of like their bench play, or do you feel like it's probably something they're going to have to address, like trade or signing? Phil, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably something of the latter, like you said there. I know I mentioned a few weeks ago, I think they should start Jalen Clark and bring Dante off the bench. I like the energy he brings on the defensive end, especially to start a game. Like, that's what you want. You want a guy out there who's just going to be like diving for loose balls, getting up in SGA or whoever else's face early on in the game to try to set a tone. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't know. Hags, you got a different thought on that?
I mean, you can rearrange stuff all you want. I think we're at least a player short, if not two, unless we see some development from some of these other guys. And like, sometimes that does just happen. Like, look what we saw from Terrence against OKC. But like, are you going to like plan on that just all of a sudden happening in the playoffs? Like, because if we were to, let's just say we were starting playoffs like next week, how deep even is the rotation? Is he playing 8 guys?
Probably
even? 7 or 8. It's probably
7. Nas, it's probably
Mike
Nas and Mike. I don't even think Bones would get run.
Yeah, it's not deep. So it's like you can bring someone off the bench to start, maybe to just get off to a better, set the tone or whatever on defense. Like, Dante's still going to be playing his, 30 some minutes, and maybe your bench stats look a little better, but like we're missing a guy or two still, I think. And it sounds like we don't have the flexibility to, dig our way out of that with anything significant anyway, but they can find gold somewhere.
That's the trouble, is if you're, Godfrey brings up that, like, Julius is a black hole on offense, lazy on defense. Dante is a bench player. There probably is a lot of truth to that, where like Dante's best role is 25 minutes off the bench, right? Like, he can't do that here. They need him to start. And it is interesting that like this team's kind of mantra last year was they had 8 starters, right? With Mike, Nikhil, and Nas, or Dante, Nikhil, and Nas coming off the bench. And now it's like Mike just can't play big minutes. Dante's in your starting lineup and Nas hasn't been great. So like they kind of have 4 starters now and a couple okay bench guys, which is just like you said, Eggs, that's a lot to try and fill with a roster that, you could trade Julius, but then like, my kind of proponent to a Julius's trade is you're probably breaking him up into 2 pieces and getting a little bit worse at whatever Julius is doing to pick up another guy. But Phil, what are your thoughts on it? Should we try Johnny Juzang at back mentality size?
Ah, man, we're really reaching deep now.
This is 49 minutes into a post-game podcast.
Yeah, right.
Juzang time now, 49 minutes.
Juzang, bring him in, man.
I found out today that he drives around with his top down still. So,
okay.
Brave man. brave man.
Yeah, he's just trying to he's trying to get used to the elements, first year here. Man, it is such a tough thing to think about because the obvious answer is, yeah, you have to trade somebody to bring more pieces in. I mean, it's kind of like if you look at when we traded Carl out to bring the pieces in now, Dante and Julius, that's kind of the same thing. It's a 1 for 2. Yeah, you get deeper, but I think losing Nikhil is way bigger. I know like a lot of us love Nikhil, but I think it's way bigger than people even realize.
Yep.
I think that is such a huge loss. I mean, just look at
our
record against Denver.
I certainly undersold it when it happened. Like, it is so apparent how much he meant, but continue.
I think that a lot of us probably just tried to talk ourselves into like TJ and Jalen Clark will just pick up the pieces to what Nikhil left. TJ can be offensively and Clark defensively, but at the end of the day, that dude is just a smart basketball player, and you can plug him in anywhere. And like Heg said earlier, that what you're going to get with him. He's going to try on every single possession, and that's a thing that we lack.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, anything you want to add to it?
Yeah, it is. I've been watching a lot of the Hawks games too, and it's like, God, he's even better than what we even remember. So it's like, I don't know if Wolves fans want to even tune in. I guess you said we do play them coming up, so that'll be a tough reminder. But I mean, it was one of those, like, you kind of, was it a, second apron type casualty that had to happen? But then I look at like, we're paying Mike and Rob, like, combined.
And Dante.
That, well, not even factoring him, but just those two, like, that's Nikhil's salary right there. So it's like, misallocation maybe of what you had to spend, but it's tough replacing a guy like that. And, at this point, we haven't found any of the production from these other guys. Maybe they'll figure something out going forward, but God, letting him go just is eats at us every day pretty much. So I don't know what, I guess kind of, and this is where it's like some of the drafting stuff kind of comes back to haunt you when you can't replenish the pipeline of younger players when you lose a Nikhil. Now here we are trying to figure out how we're going to fill a bench to help us in the playoffs. So it's
100%
tough situation with
all right,
doesn't
guys,
really look like a lot of levers to pull.
On that high note, I'm calling it here. Thank you both so much for coming on. I do want to give you the space. Anything you want to plug? Where can people find you? Please plug your podcast. It is delightful.
Yeah, you can find us at MNPU Podcast on X. We've been going live on X and YouTube, like usually Monday or Tuesday of every week, trying to recap the Vikes games, whichever night the Wolves aren't playing. So we're on Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff, X, TikTok for sure. Please Understand Podcast. Check us out.
Phil, anything to add?
No, I think he nailed it. My Twitter account's PDog2222, but other than that, yeah, he nailed everything.
Hey, well, that's all I got then. If anyone joined this late and wants to listen to the full 50-something minutes, it will be living on YouTube as soon as we end the stream here. It gets published. It's also going to live forever on X. If you want to listen to it as a podcast the next day, it'll come out tomorrow, Sunday the 28th at 7 a.m. And we will be back after... a couple days off, no home games for a while. So I'm going to actually like catch up on sleep here. It's going to be delightful, but we do go live after every Wolves game, and we'll probably be going live a little bit earlier since I'm not going to be on the road with them, but appreciate you guys coming on. Thanks everyone for listening. And woof, this was a tough one.